We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs and Health Food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need.
Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off.
Well, hello, and welcome to episode 15 of Gracefully and Frankly, especially if you're listening for the first time. Hope you'll go digging back in the last 14. I'm Erin Davis.
I'm Lisa Brandt, and we are going to talk about masks. The masks we wear to... No.
Well, it is kind of. It is the masks we wear. In this case, it was somebody at me about too much makeup last time I was on TV. Well, I don't know if that was her problem. She had so many with me that we don't have time to go into it. But we're going to talk about that little voice in your head that sometimes a troll puts words to. But Lisa had a romantic encounter with a troll. We'll tell you her response. It's just steamy.
Oh, yes, so steamy. I can hardly wait to hear from him again. Never. Also, we're going to be talking about another type of mask. The mask that prevents you from getting sick and the mask that supposedly helps you sleep better.
The experience Lisa had, just incredible, especially how different it was from the first time. And I'm surprised at your age, Lisa, that we can remember the first time. But anyway, we'll talk about we'll talk about that. Oh, and speaking of getting dirty, Lisa's encounter with pottery classes.
Yeah, the sacred bowl. I made a bowl in wood shop years ago in high school that angels sing whenever it gets moved around the house. I don't know that angels are going to sing for my pottery bowl, but we'll see.
We will find out. I don't know if angels sing when you put your head on an envy pillow, but I certainly go, and we want to thank them for sponsoring Gracefully and Frankly.
One of the side benefits of an envy pillow that we haven't really talked about before is not waking up with bedhead. I love getting another full, perfect day out of my hair. On the envy pillow, because you're not squishing yourself, you can do that. And it's one of the many great reasons to use an envy pillow. And so, of course, if you were going to list 15 reasons, it might not be in the top 10. But for me, it's a big one. It's also anti-aging, and copper has healing properties, destroys germs. There are so many great things to learn about this 100% certified natural latex. It's the only one on the market. We love it. We're proud that they sponsor us, and you can get a beautiful discount if you buy anything from their website, envypillow.com, 10% off with the code GF.
So, Lisa, is there something about you and Derek I need to know? I saw an exchange that you had on Facebook with someone who really seems to be kind of sweet on you. What's going on?
Oh, my goodness. It was on your sister's page.
Oh, darn her.
I put a note under wishing her happy birthday, and she did a before and after photo because she looks fantastic. She's lost some weight, and I said, you look even younger than you did a few years ago. And then some guy named ostensibly Jason Brown popped in after my comment to Leslie and said, are you ready for this?
Okay.
Hello, beautiful. How are you doing? I must say you have a beautiful picture. Please, I would like us to be friends and get to know more about each other too. If you can send me a friend request, that would be nice of you.
Wow. Day changed.
I know.
Look at you. She's packing her bags. This guy, even though he used beautiful twice in a sentence, which of course you and I are judging.
I know. Well, I was thinking for our first anniversary, I could get him a thesaurus.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah. So I responded, oh, Jason, I've been waiting for you to come rescue me from this hellish life of misery.
Oh.
Where no one recognizes my insane beauty.
Oh.
Please let me know your bank information so I can send you all of my money, which you most certainly need for a terrifically important reason that won't be suspicious at all.
That's the best own I think I've ever read.
Jason never came back.
Oh.
Jason has gone.
No, he's probably figuring out how to get to where are you again? Port Stanley?
Yeah.
That's probably what he said. What? No, he's trying to find a way to get to Port Stanley. He's probably looking online at real estate so you can set up your little love nest and you can have visitation with cuddles.
Well, I don't know. Where is he based? Somewhere in the States? Nigeria, where the Prince scams come from? Who knows? But I'm just so sick of these guys coming into Instagram, and we've talked about this before. They're a doctor, or they're in the army, or they're whatever, and it's just such crap. So I just thought I'd have a little fun with him.
Well, if he does respond, we are all waiting with bated breath to find out what happens next in this incredible romance novel.
So is Derek.
Yeah. 1 week after we talked about, online dating and stuff. And, last week I posted about our podcast and the online dating and that, and a friend of ours, Steve Key, commented, and wasn't Steve the one who got a troll saying, I love your profile picture and I can't wait to meet you and all this stuff? And I thought, oh my God, the trolls, whatever in the algorithm makes these things show up, they're not even caring anymore.
No, I mean, I even put married in my bio just so that if someone even did the minimum work to see what I was about, they would see married. It doesn't matter. They just don't care.
No, and we watch enough Dateline to know that, married does not preclude hanky or panky. So,
That's right. See, to me, it does. I'm just that old-fashioned. To me, it does.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can't wait to hear if you get a response. Now, it's the responding to people that I'm never sure if I should do. Like if somebody is particularly obnoxious on my own Facebook page, which I consider to be a safe playground, no cat turds allowed, I'll just block and delete because I think, well, somebody passed you this and you're not part of our group. We just don't want to hear what you've got to say. If you have to turn every story into how much you hate Trudeau, or, you're able to somehow turn it into, masking or vaccines or any of that. I know you're a troll and you're probably out of Russia, which is where most of the misinformation about vaccines came from.
Yeah.
And people bought it hook, line, and sinker. So I got a response the last time I was on the social, which was last November. And I'm partly bringing this up because of your response to this. What was his name?
Jason, how can you forget the love of my life?
I'm so sorry. I'm jealous, I guess. It's got to be jealousy. I don't even know what to give you for a wedding gift. What would this be? Number 4?
Yes.
So I'm going to be on the social today, 1 p.m. local time. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time because we mentioned it on the show, which I hope we will, thank you. This is Lisa Brandt. She is a former broadcaster. She is an author. She's got a book launching in May about getting into the trades instead of going on for a degree you may never use called Trade Up. And she's just a woman of so many talents, and I love her. She and I have been friends for probably 20 years at least, Lisa?
At least, yeah.
We're born 10 days apart. We're both former broads in broadcasting. And this is called Gracefully and Frankly because that's the way we hopefully discuss things with each other.
Right.
So thanks for listening. And for those of you who have been listening, I'm sorry. I'll get on with it. So last time I was on, this woman wrote to me, and I can't remember her name, but she was so angry and mean. I can't even remember the content of what she was saying because it was all so ridiculous, but I engaged her and I shouldn't have.
Oh.
And when people say, I'm disappointed in you, I always think that's on you. It's not on me. If you didn't know who I am, I'm not Mother Teresa. Sometimes I post a lot of spiritual stuff and I've become a bit of a lightning rod for grief. But it doesn't mean that I'm not dirty, I'm not silly, I'm not hopefully funny, all of these things.
You are funny and you are silly. You are all those things, yeah.
She was really angry with me, and I just got to that point like, why are you even in my life? Just move on, So that is in my head, of course, as I'm taking the stage today, is like, who's not going to like what I say? But, it's listening to those people that is so ridiculous because in a way they represent the little voice in your head that says you're not worthy. Who told you you're fill in the blank,
Yeah. And it's almost another form of kind of overthinking. Like, we have to do it to a degree. You don't want to say something by mistake that happens to be offensive. You always check yourself, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure that, yeah, I mean, there's a level of that has to be done. But trying to think of every kind of criticism somebody could have, 9.9 times out of 10, it's about them. They're having a bad day or for whatever reason, and you just happen to be there and be available. I wish you wouldn't engage someone like that. But, I know you go with your gut. And in the moment, you want to defend yourself and say, you got me wrong.
That'll always be my go-to, is to try to win them back. And that's because of years and years of radio, of course, right?
Yes, yes.
I remember one time this woman was so offended and she called the radio station and she was furious about a bit that we did on Ash Wednesday that had to do with whip sounds and was called Lash Wednesday. Oh. And I said to our boss, we didn't do anything like that. No way would we do that. And plus I'm a Catholic. It's just there's 19 ways to go to hell at any time of the day. And that would be one of them. So finally she left her phone number. So I called her back and I said, I want to talk about what you think you heard this morning. And she said, not what I thought I heard. This is what I heard. And I said, what is your radio playing right now? And she put her phone over to the radio, and it was a song that we were not playing because I could hear the speakers in the offices. That's what we do in the radio station. You play your own station. If you don't, you know that you're in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, we're playing Chum FM instead. No, so I said, that's not CHFI you're listening to. What? You're not listening to CHFI. And she was sorry. To me, not sorry enough. But she was like, oh, well, okay. And then hung up. So, 9 times out of 10, I will try and win them back because one lost listener goes on to tell other people why they were so offended and all that. But you know what? We've got to be ourselves, and there's always going to be somebody who hates what you do. I did an interview with Rita Zekas of the Toronto Star, and she phoned me, and I happened to be shopping at the time in Holt Renfrew. I was looking for a pair of fancy jeans or whatever. And I told her that, and I said, usually, I'll go to Winners and find something, trying to be the person everyone thinks I am and who I am. I'm a giant tiger girl.
Yeah.
And the comments were like, oh, now I know why I hate her. Or here's another reason to dislike this person. And I wrote to Rita. I said, oh, my God, the comments you get. And she said, girl, never read the comments.
Right. I don't read the comments. And even when I find myself compelled to go on Twitter to see, something's trending, and if I take a look and get the gist of it, I just don't get into it. I just tear myself away. A couple of people said something kind of mean to me on Twitter, and I just immediately mute them. And I can't take any more of that in my life. I just can't do it. And I don't get a fraction of the stuff you get because you also get much more reaction and much more adulation as well. I mean, when you look at the people who contact you, it's such a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of anybody that has anything negative to say. Why you, me, and everybody else who has been in the public eye in any way, why do we put so much emphasis on that tiny, tiny fraction? Because
I think in our insecure performer minds, a little bit of us thinks that they're right. That voice could be your mother. That voice could be, a jealous coworker. And that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. So what you did with responding to Jason was epic. But what you also did, muting is the best revenge because they don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody is hearing what you're saying, bro. So move on.
Right. And if it was really bad, I'd just block them. And I do that all the time on Instagram. I do that with people who put those comments up that say, we want to work with you because of your goth style, or whatever. And I block them constantly too. So it's idiots and mean people.
Exactly. And I was going to wear goth style today, but today I'm wearing that black and white dress we talked about a few episodes ago that I wasn't going to show a picture of. And Rob took it in on Saturday night during the Leafs-Habs game. It's missing its pockets now, which it was supposed to be because he took it in along the side seams. It looks great. So I hope everybody's going to watch The Social on CTV 1 p.m. local time today.
Oh, that's fantastic. Can't wait.
This trip almost didn't happen, Lisa.
Yeah.
Guess who came down with COVID?
On his birthday.
Yes. That's the night he tested positive, April 4th. This is my husband, Rob, for people who are new to the podcast. And we're going to continue to welcome people in because we just want this party to get bigger. We're at a table in a coffee shop in our minds, and people are just listening in. That's what they tell us they feel when they listen to Gracefully and Frankly. And Rob was playing in a seniors hockey tournament the week before. There were people flying in from Saskatchewan, from Tokyo, Japan,
Wow.
which was so cool. But somebody had the virus, and he got his first email from a teammate the night of his birthday. And hadn't we all been at a family table in a Chinese restaurant, and then around our table in our house, birthday cake and the whole thing?
Right.
Yeah. So he tested. Fortunately, about 3 nights earlier, he had felt he had a really bad cold coming on. So being the sweet man he is, and knowing that we had this trip to Toronto and then to Ottawa planned, he just moved into another room. Okay, great. We kept our distance. We stayed in the same room and stuff. We didn't self-quarantine. But you know what? I didn't catch it. Psychosomatically, I thought for a bit, I've got it. This is it. I have a headache. But no, we got through it. And Rob tested negative on Saturday, much sooner than the first round of COVID. So yay, vaccines, whatever you're doing. And so here we are in the GTA.
Wow. Well, I don't know how you would ever avoid getting it if someone on a hockey team has it. I mean, you're sweating, you're panting, you're, all that kind of stuff. And now, thank goodness, having had all the vaccines, it's just not like it was before. And he was over it much more quickly than I certainly was my first time anyway.
Yeah.
That's great.
It is amazing. So we were able to take the trip. It was scary, not as scary as the first time. And we're not going to be done with this. And I don't know about where you live, but in the grocery stores, because I live in such a high age demographic kind of town, a lot of people still wear masks in stores. And I'm fine with that. And I was out wearing a mask on Saturday. He had tested negative, but we were being careful.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for somebody to say something about the mask.
Oh, really?
So I could say, buddy, I'm doing this for you. My husband has COVID. Happy Easter.
We have enough people that, it's all very live and let live around here. A lot of people wear them. A lot of people don't. It's just a real mix. And I couldn't imagine if somebody said something. Oh, my goodness. Arr.
I'm always expecting it. But then again, there's that little voice in my head, right?
Yeah, well, you can know that they'll get COVID and you won't. So there you go.
Yeah. And speaking of wearing masks, you never thought that CPAP would be kind of an ongoing thread in this podcast, but you had the most extraordinary experience last week, and it was so different from the first time you went through this. And this is all foreign to me, so I'd love for you to tell us the story of your overnight, not with Jason.
Well, to begin with, I am not convinced that I have sleep apnea. I know I snore. And my husband says I don't stop breathing. So I'm really interested in seeing the report. But this was an overnighter with a CPAP mask. And it's so civilized now, Erin. 15 years ago when I did my first sleep test, which was probably just because of doing morning radio for so long, I wasn't getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
But this was in Toronto at Jane and Finch. There was a sleep clinic there, and they put everybody into one room like cattle, all of us in our pajamas feeling embarrassed, wired us all up together, put us all in these little tiny freezing rooms. The only blanket was paper.
Come on.
I'm not kidding. And then about every 30 minutes, they'd come crashing into the room, flicking on the light. Nobody would even say anything to me like I was a human. All of a sudden, there'd be hands all over me, moving wires and doing all this stuff. Like it was terrible. But I got through it and whatever. And then they bring us out like cattle again. And we're all there together getting the wires taken off, it was just awful.
It sounds humiliating, Lisa. Let's examine the feelings attached to this whole thing.
Oh, sure.
First off, how is anybody supposed to sleep with all of this going on?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you think you won't sleep. Everybody who's doing it for the first time is convinced they won't sleep. And I just laugh now because I've been through it. I think I've had 6 sleep tests now, over 15 years. You do sleep. You don't think you will, but you do. Not great, maybe, but it's changed so much, Erin, that the first time the number of wires was like a PVC tube that they plugged into the wall. So if you had to go pee in the middle of the night, you had to yell out for somebody and they had to come and unplug you, walk with you to the bathroom, stay on the other side of the door while you peed. Like, it was terrible. So now what they do, they have about, 30 wires, I'm going to say for argument's sake. Some are attached to your legs, some a place on your jaw, different places where you have movement. And it's attached to a pack that they clip to your pajamas. So if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, you just say, hey, going to the bathroom, you get up and go. You're on a screen all night. You're not lit up. They're watching you and they're monitoring you. But I don't know. It's just so much more civilized. And I didn't use the mask that does your nose and mouth coverage, just the nose.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have much of a problem sleeping with it. And at one point I thought, I don't understand this. How can I be breathing in and out through my nose? And this is somehow putting air into my throat and keeping my soft palate open. And I opened my mouth and it was like, do you remember the old movie, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser? And
Yes.
it was like that. And the guy opened his mouth and all these flies flew out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it felt like. Like, I just felt like I had all this power coming out of my mouth. So I thought, okay, close your mouth. But that's the way to go if you don't sleep with your mouth open. And apparently I don't. So that's good. So if I do have to get the machine, I'll be getting the little nose thing. But people have been writing to me since our episode about it saying, oh, it'll change your life. Don't worry about getting it. It's not that big a deal. Just do it. You'll get sleep like you've never had before. And that's what my brother says too. He's had a CPAP for a long time. So
Did they let you take your weighted blanket?
no, but I did take my envy pillow. But no, and it's like a hotel room now compared to what it was 15 years ago. There's a night table and a lamp and a fan and nice bed and nice bedding, and you don't even see anybody else. There's another dozen people there, but you never see them. It's so much nicer, and they treat you like a human being. The woman calls you by your name all the time. You're not just treated like some lab experiment like I was the first time. If anybody's worried about having this, please don't. People go through it every night. It's really not that bad. And then if you do have sleep apnea and you have it severely, it can kill you.
Right.
You need to get this taken care of. This isn't something you want to put off. My brother, when he was tested, they found that he was holding his breath for up to 59 seconds before catching it again. And this was happening over and over and over. I mean, that's ripe for a heart attack right there. So it's not something that you want to just shrug off. I'm pretty serious about it. As you can tell, I've been several times, but I'm also a little skeptical.
I'm amazed you went back a second time, actually. But what do you mean you're skeptical?
I'm skeptical that I have sleep apnea. This time I'm going to say, show me the graph, show me the numbers. I want to see this myself. I certainly didn't feel like I'd had the best sleep of my life after the sleep test, which of course I wouldn't. They woke me up at 5 and time to go and all that kind of stuff. And you've got gooey stuff in your hair. And then I met my aunt and cousin for lunch that afternoon.
Ew.
Oh no, I came home and had a shower.
Oh, good.
And as I got back out, I thought I scrubbed all the little pads off. They leave that kind of black mark on you. And I got into the car to leave and I still had a square one on my neck.
Oh,
it's like,
jeez.
Great.
No.
Lisa doesn't know how to wash.
That or Jason has really weird hickeys. So you've tried something new, maybe with spring upon us. It's sprung upon you to give something new a go. And I really thought this was going to be a thing for you, but you were a one-off with pottery. What happened?
Well, it was a one-time class. I mean, I could sign up for more, but this was sort of like introduction to pottery. And I took it at Pinecroft in Elmer. If anybody is familiar with Pinecroft, it's just a spectacular place. So the guy who was our teacher is kind of a world-renowned potter whose name I'm not going to come up with, but he's...
Just call him Harry.
That's right. Call him Harry. And he's just so patient. But I found out a couple things about it. You really have to have a feel for it. And Erin, you have to want to sit there all mucky for several hours in a row. And it's not my favorite thing. I don't mind getting dirty, but when I can't do anything about it, it wasn't comfortable. The wheel that we had was operated by a pedal, and it took all my nails, chewed up my hands. It's part of the process, and this is what you need to do. And I don't want to sound so prissy, but for what I turned out, it just didn't feel worth it. It was really difficult for me to make a bowl, although the guy next to me made nothing. He couldn't make anything. So, and I don't think he was really trying, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be my thing. I much prefer to paint, and sure, I get paint on me and all that kind of stuff, but there's just something about being that munged up with stuff that really kind of wasn't my jam, man.
Well, some people do love it. The whole getting up to your elbows,
Yes.
whether it's in clay or in dirt, in gardening and that sort of thing. I'm not that girl either. I happen to love my nails, and you said that this thing was really hard on your hands and nails.
Oh, you would have left because you have to use your bare hands and they're in contact with this spinning wheel. So everything got shredded, including the sides of my hands a little bit.
Oh,
Because for the very first thing you have to do is with your little mound of clay is center it in the wheel. Because if it's not in the center, you're not going to be able to work with it. And so that requires you to put your hands down on the spinning wheel. You know, it was fun. I'm really glad I did it. But all we did basically for 5.5 hours was practice until we got something we could live with that they would fire for us. And my bowl turned out not bad. I was quite proud of it. But then we need to, as a kind of respect thing, you wash your pottery wheel, you clean everything up. So we were doing all that kind of stuff. And somebody complimented my bowl, and I turned and hit it with my pottery wheel.
no.
So my bowl is going to have a weird dent in it. And that was from the pottery wheel. So, you know, all this stuff that a potter who goes regularly would never have a problem with. But for one 5.5 hour class, it was easy to make a lot of mistakes. But that's what we were there for. And it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
once is good.
Wow. My thing is ceramics. I used to do ceramics, and then you get the bisque. You get the piece already formed.
Yes.
And then you do the first coat, and then it's fired, and then you paint it, and then it's fired again. And I love the painting and the intricacy, but do I have the patience to make a perfect, and you know me, and if you're like me, you'd be the same, that it has to be perfect or you wouldn't dare display it. That's me. How about you? You gonna display the dented bowl?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten it back yet. It hasn't been fired. They're waiting because we were the first class of the season. So they wait till they get a whole bunch and then put them in the kiln. But it's funny because a friend of mine who does chalk painting and all sorts of stuff convinced me that imperfection is where the personality is. And I let go of it having to be perfect. Yeah, I can look at where maybe the flaw is, but I don't have to point it out. And the imperfection is what kind of makes it mine. It gives it a little bit of je ne sais quoi. So that doesn't really bother me anymore. But of course I paint abstracts. And the reason I paint abstracts is nobody can tell me it doesn't look like the thing.
Right. Right. You can't get it wrong.
That's right. So,
and I love your work. Would you post a couple of pieces
Okay,
on
I
our
will.
Gracefully and Frankly Facebook page? Please,
All right.
please.
I will.
Lisa's pieces. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I'll continue to paint, and I get it about the ceramics too. I don't care that it's perfect, although I will walk by and give something that isn't perfect the side eye. But it doesn't matter that much to me.
The whole time you were doing it, were you hearing Unchained Melody and picturing Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze? Come on, were you?
When I booked the class, the first thing I did was tweet that little gif of the two of them in the pottery class, and nothing like that happened. Nobody came up behind me and cradled me lovingly. Jason, my new love from Facebook, was not there.
Oh.
And frankly, if someone had, I would have called 911. But it was, no, it was nothing like that. It's messy, and Demi Moore must have been highly skilled in pottery.
Yes, of course. But isn't love messy, Lisa?
It is.
Oh, this has been a fun 15th episode of Gracefully and Frankly. And thank you so much again. If you're new to us, thanks to the CTV social bump, it's great to be introduced to a larger audience, but we are always just talking to you personally there, having your coffee with us in the morning or your tea or out on your walk. We hear from you, and we just love keeping you company. And I love this time connecting with you every week too, Lisa.
Oh, so do I. I feel like it's just so important. And I don't know that we had something quite like this before. So certainly not a podcast, but this kind of connection that we maintained every week. And of course, we've got our Facebook page, Gracefully and Frankly on Facebook, and emailing us is good too, gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com. And we just love it when people keep in touch. So many comments on the Facebook page that are just so much fun to read through.
They really are. We appreciate that. And once again, we appreciate Envy Pillow for hopping in with us right there at episode 1. And a reminder, if you go to envypillow.com, you'll get 10% off using the code GF. And if you don't love what you buy there, which is highly unlikely, they'll take it back, donate it to a shelter, and make it right. So what more could we ask? You take care. I'm sorry I'm not seeing you this time. We're through Ontario, but we're hitting Toronto and then heading east. So
yes, and you're going to see Mike Cooper. So give Mikey my best, will you please? I miss that man. I love him too.
Absolutely. All right. And we will talk to you again soon on Gracefully and Frankly.
Bye-bye.